Can a cooling pad unlock higher performance out of your high-performance laptop? Razer thinks theirs can, and you know what? They're not wrong, at least not entirely. How much performance can be gained with a little more juice and a lot more airflow? Well, we're gonna find out right here, right now on Robeytech. We have a bit of a different video here today that is less of a review and more of an interesting follow-up to a video we did nearly 3 years ago to date. In that video, we tested out a laptop cooling pad that left us completely unimpressed by the differences, outside of providing us with a bit more RGB, some separation between hot laptops from our actual laps, and a little bit more ambient noise. So when Razer approached us a few months back and told us about their new laptop cooling pad, we heard their pitch, but we definitely had a healthy portion of skepticism, until they shared about something it does for Razer laptops that no other cooler can do. As we get started, we want to say a big thank you to Razer for giving us so much time with the Razer Blade 16, which we've been using for the test, and the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad as well. So I'm sure you've seen something similar to this before, a big wedge-like device with the mission of keeping your laptop cool. However, this is Razer's big wedge-like device on a mission to keep your Razer laptop cool, and those distinctions are important. Coming in at a retail price of nearly $150, this thing had better do more than a run-of-the-mill laptop cooler, especially considering that the most popular laptop cooling pads on Amazon cost around $30. Fortunately for it, the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad does. Rather than just being a fan or a series of fans sitting underneath perforated metal, the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad uses a pressure system that is sized for your laptop. With swappable magnetic frames, the cooling pad can support laptops from 14 inches all the way up to 18 inches, which is unironically the same size as the laptops Razer makes. As for dimensions, this is no flimsy flap top here. This thing weighs about 3.5 pounds or 1.6 kilograms. It has a 5.5 inch 3000 RPM velocity fan at the center and is built like a tank. Not only that, it has 3 USB Type-A ports, remappable control buttons, and just about all the RGB your eyeballs can handle. Now you might be thinking, Roby, are you just drinking a tall glass of snake oil here? We've seen other coolers like this. If that's you, I'm really glad you asked. And no, I haven't consumed any snake oil. And yes, there's more to the story here because there's one advantage this cooler has, and it might be surprising. That's Razer Synapse. Oh, well, it's Razer Synapse and a Razer laptop. Now, if you're thinking that Razer Synapse is just for RGB control and some tweaking of things, you're partially right, but there are more features and unlocks with Razer Laptop. The short version is that Synapse actually offers far deeper control over performance settings, especially for laptops. And one of those performance settings that the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad unlocks is a feature called Hyper Boost mode. This performance mode enables the maximum TGP for laptops like the Razer Blade 16, pushing higher wattage to both the GPU and CPU while keeping temperatures under wraps. Essentially, this is like the NOS button in every Fast and Furious movie, but it's only available on Razer laptops equipped with RTX 40 series graphics and beyond from 2023 to the present. So with all that in mind, we have a few big questions we have to answer, especially based off of what we saw in our other laptop cooler reviews. We need to know if the Hyper Boost mode does actually improve performance and by how much. And we also need to know if this extra power will turn the Razer Blade into a Razer blazing inferno. Now let's start with Cinebench. We have performance that is exceptionally close. While single-thread scores average so close they may as well be twins, the multi-thread score averages aren't far off. We saw about a 2% uplift in performance using the cooler, but there is a little bit more to the story. When we look at average power draw, we do actually see that the tests run using Hyperboost increased the average CPU power by a significant amount. As for the heat here, that extra power does result in temperatures that are about 2 degrees Celsius warmer on average. Not exactly a promising start here, but keep in mind that this is only one test. Also, the CPU isn't the only thing being boosted by Razer Hyperboost here. There's still some time for Razer to shine. And by shine, I mean glimmer. Since Razer positions themselves as a premium gaming brand, it's only appropriate to see how Razer Laptop's cooling pad impacts gaming performance. Keep in mind that gaming data we're going to show is not exhaustive. The numbers we're going to show represent us opening up all the GPU-enabled feature floodgates to put on as much stress to the GPU as possible. So yes, that means that we're using features like DLSS, frame generation, and multi-frame generation here whenever they're available. I feel like I have to caveat this or someone is going to act like I punched their dog. Starting with average frame rates across 5 titles, there is a repeatable improvement in overall gaming performance when we're using the laptop cooling pad and Hyperboost. We saw the biggest boost in performance in Forza Horizon 5 with a 19 FPS average, or around 8.1% leap over the Razer Blade without the laptop cooling pad and Hyperboost. Black Myth Wukong was the next in an average jump at 10 frames per second, or just below a 10% increase. Cyberpunk 2077 saw a 5.6% bump, while Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Monster Hunter Wilds saw around a 4.1% increase in performance overall. And if you want to increase your overall overall appreciation of all things PC DIY, tech, and gaming, why don't you hit those like and subscribe and notification bell buttons here at Robeytech and over at Robeytech Live. Now back to the testing. As for CPU power, when we look at the average maximum CPU power draw, our test shows some pretty substantial leaps in most of our games. However, when we pull it back to look at the overall averages, we actually saw the test without the cooler drawing more power here. Where things get even more interesting is when we look at the GPU power and thermals. As a reminder, the tests we ran were at 1600p or QHD plus resolution. When we look at the average draw though, we saw around a 7.25% increase in average power drawn by the GPU. As for temperatures here, there was around a 5-degree difference here with the HyperBoost Plus laptop cooling pad setup, drawing more power, getting higher frame rates, and operating cooler. Now, there is one factor here that is worth considering: just how loud is the laptop cooling pad when HyperBoost is active. If you watched a review of the Razer Blade 16, you know that the laptop itself, despite its stealth black finish, is not the quietest laptop on the planet. Now, the good news here from a certain point of view is that with the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad, that won't be a problem, because we recorded this piece between 68 decibels and 76 decibels when it's really cooking. So just be prepared, it's not quiet. So with all that in mind, what have we actually learned? Well, Razer's claims of unlocking performance potential aren't entirely far-fetched, and while the games aren't earth-shattering, they were big enough to be having this conversation. And there are a few different perspectives we walked away with on this one, especially considering that there is no one-size-fits-all for tech solution and that everyone values different things. If we were to look at this on the pessimistic side, what we're seeing with the laptop cooling pad and HyperBoost feels in a lot of ways like how BMW approaches features as a service in some of their cars a few years ago, by offering a way to access something that was already inside. From that perspective, the laptop cooling pad is essentially a $150 buy-in to access extra performance that you already have in the Razer laptop. Now remember, the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad only enables HyperBoost on a Razer Blade, and just like BMW isn't known for cheap cars, Razer isn't known for cheap laptops. The Razer Blade 16 had a retail price of around $4,500 when we did our initial review, so from this perspective, the notion of having to spend $150 more leaves us a little bit sour. Now, on a more pragmatic side of the coin, yes, the performance may be there, but extra power translates into extra heat. And unless there's a way to deal with the extra heat, running hot is not always the best or safest things for your device. From this standpoint, having guardrails here isn't entirely a negative, and gating this performance behind a way to deal with that heat does make sense. I mean, I imagine this strategy has saved a number of burned laps and RMAs, but again, being pragmatic, the laptop cooling pad is really better at being a dock than an actual lap pad. Finally, let's go ahead and put on our rose-tinted optimistic glasses for a second. It is cool to see an option to get more performance out of your investment, yes. Having this as an extra, basically giving users the option to either opt in or opt out of using HyperBoost, while also providing a way to potentially expand the lifespan of your laptop with the thermal management solution, is also kind of cool. But this is all if the user should choose to spend an extra $150, which, I don't know. So let's bring this all together and get really honest with ourselves. We collectively have a habit of spending money on extras like this all the time. How many of us have bought a premium GPU for $300 or $600 more than MSRP to get less than 5% worth of performance out of it? Or what about buying a fancier motherboard, slightly better performing AIO or PC case that's a few degrees cooler than the last one? I mean, getting upset over the price tag is a bit like spending $1,000 at a Chipotle and then batting an eye when they tell you the guac is extra. Listen, I'm not saying $150 isn't a lot of money for a good number of you watching this video. We've all been in places where that kind of money is the difference between keeping the lights on and putting food on the table or getting left hungry in the dark. So I don't want to be dismissive of that. Understand that there are others who really like buying luxury products, and I don't know that anyone would argue that Razer doesn't sit in that category. So for that person spending $5,000 on a laptop, $150 seems like a drop in the bucket to get an extra 5 to 10% gaming performance out of their laptop. Is that 5 to 10% going to make as much of a difference when you're already pushing higher frame rates? Maybe not today, but something like this could be a thing that makes a laptop last a little bit longer. So are any of these perspectives perfect? No. But they do encapsulate a few things we found when testing the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad. But really, whether or not Razer HyperBoost or the laptop cooling pads are value adds, that all comes down to you. So do you use a cooling pad on the regular with your laptop? And if so, are the features on this one a value add for you? Would you pay $150 to get more performance out of your $3,000 or $5,000 laptop? And would the extra noise levels drive you nuts, or would you be cool with it if it netted you extra performance? Let us know all that down in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, make sure you slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that that notification bell so you get a notification when we post videos like this, either here at Robeytech or over at Robeytech Live. And if you want to continue the conversation, see if it makes sense to use something like this, head over to our Discord server, discord.gg/Robeytech. You'll meet other tech and PC enthusiasts that love to have these conversations, and you know what? You might just make a friend. Also, make sure you follow us on all your other favorite social media platforms at Robeytech, absolutely everywhere. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.